G'day, folks! Has the days ever changed from when I used to look up at my parents and they would look down at me cringing as I told them I wanted to be a professional video game player, only aspiring to characters like out of Grandma's Boy?
That's totally cool. Just keep your voice down. My roommates are sleeping.
You mean your parents?
But I don't think people realize the revolution that is coming, considering the global esports revenue is going to grow over to $1 billion this year alone. And a company reached out to me, and after diving around, I actually think this company is a really good buy here, being a small cap penny stock. I'm leaving the full disclosure in the description below. And this company trades under the ticker symbol GSQ. We're going to dive down into this, but first I want to look at their books because I don't want to be leading you guys into highly risky, highly leveraged companies. So after we go over their books, I'm going to dive down in and actually run the math to see what this company's future potential is looking like, because this is an industry I think people are severely overlooking. You can go to Vegas and play professional esports, win cash prizes at places like the Luxor. So this is going to be a really interesting breakdown for anybody interested in the gaming space. So in the clarity of my transparency, smash that like button and let's jump right into this. Investors alike to this really interesting new company that has only just come on the scene in the stock market, and it's called GameSquare. They're claiming that esports is at its inflection point here, guys, considering the esports sector is expected to grow at about a 15% clip year over year, and something tells me the pandemic is probably helping this community even grow a little bit faster. But before we dive down into the fascinating metrics and how this company operates, I really quickly want to look at their books. It's just taking a look at their total current assets. They're currently worth about $2.2 million, guys. They are a Toronto-based company and currently only have a total liability of about $700,000. So that means they're worth about $1.5 million. So this company today, against its current market capitalization of around $6 million, you're paying about 4x its underlying assets. And just scrolling down just to take a look at their current cash from operations, currently has expanded rapidly this year over the last 9 months, considering looking at the 9-month end for 2019 when they did about $673,000 from their operations. This year they have expanded to $853,000, guys. And there's not too many gaming companies that trade this close to their actual bottom line operating revenue, which is something that we're going to learn comes from an actual acquisition that they made as of recent. But let's just get right into this, guys, because I'm promising you, you're probably going to find this relatively interesting. This company works like an umbrella, owning about 4 different industries in this space: Code Red, Gaming Community Network, R7, and LGD. So let me just get into some of these individual sectors of this company, and let me explain to you exactly what they do here, starting with Code Red. Now, Code Red currently has a huge client list with companies like AMD, you got esports in there, Ubisoft, Intel. Like, these are just massive conglomerates that really pay attention to this space, obviously. And currently Code Red has a massive talent base that also operates through a lot of these events when we're talking about things like E3 that might have been hindered by this current pandemic. But essentially what this company does is they have built up, they're kind of like an agency that builds up a bunch of clients. They go and find people that want to sponsor those clients, and then obviously they're going to be taking a percentage of that revenue. It's kind of like what I do with my sponsored videos on this channel here, guys, but it gets so much more interesting. And just let me explain here. So currently one of the umbrellaed companies right here called the Community Gaming Network has 75 million monthly unique views. They have 110 million unique users globally, and they operate off 75 different websites. So why does this matter? Like, if you are in any kind of media company, these are your total assets. This is where all of your revenue is being generated from. And I'm going to explain to you right now how much money this is actually worth to this company, because it is absolutely staggering here, guys. So if we take that 65 million, being a YouTuber, the average ad rate per 1,000 views on the stock market niche is usually around $20 to $25, and that is the highest paid niche. So when we get into the gaming industry, we're going to see a much larger pullback, because obviously a lot of kids watch gaming. So we're seeing a little bit less revenue on the cost per 1,000 views, but typically I'm going to tell you it's between $5 and $10. So we're going to pick the mid-range, which would be about $7.50 per 1,000 views that they're generating from their current network. So let's take those 65 million active monthly watchers, divide that by 1,000, which is what you're going to get paid per lot of 1,000 views. That's going to give us about 65,000. Which, if we take that and we times that by the $7.50 that they're going to make, and again, these are very broad, that would simply mean this company has the capability of generating about $487,000 a month in ad revenue here, guys, which if we times that out over an entire year, because again, this is per month, we're looking at about $5,850,000 in ad revenue, just under $6 million bucks. So let's presume that this company, obviously being an ad agency, is collecting conservatively likely about 15 to 20%, which means they would likely be pocketing right around $1 million. Considering when we just looked at those book numbers, bringing in for the 9-month end of over $800,000, we're actually getting very close to the numbers that we are currently looking at here. So it'd be really neat to see what this company comprises of when we're talking about their actual talent base, because again, guys, we're talking about massive numbers here. And honestly, when you get the ball rolling, you get a few people signed up and actually start generating them revenue, they're usually pretty happy to suggest it to their other buddies that are in the same space that'll eventually sign up. They're already connecting these people with huge brands like Mercedes, BMW, guys. They are going to try and become a premier advertiser in this space. And the competition, let's be real, isn't that massive. And you might think, well, why can't these individual users just go to these clients themselves? They absolutely could. But what you have to understand, guys, is these massive companies do not have time to sit down with all these individual users and build these networks. That's why we have agency companies like this that set up these deals and network them out to dozens and dozens of users, really simplifying the process for these massive brands. And just taking a look at their current growth strategy here, guys, the focused growth on influencers and player representation. They're going to be accelerating high value brand influencer campaigns, invest to grow sponsorship and brand segments. So they're primarily trying to grow by scaling organically, which I don't think is going to be a problem considering the growth rate again in this industry is 15%, and also by consolidating the agencies and complementary assets. So they're basically doing these acquisitions, trying to bring it under one umbrella, cut all the expenses, and just simplify the process, which is going to be neat to see how this kind of evolves over time. But keep in mind, guys, this company is likely to do close to $1 million in revenue this year. They're really only trading at 6x. Now, you're going to want to do a little bit more deep dive analysis just to see what their bottom line margins are and how they're going to be likely to expand that, because when we're talking about growing companies, primarily what they like to do is keep growing and kind of capitalizing on the industry, which is what we're going to want. But honestly, comparing this to even some of the larger companies, this is an incredible startup in a very unique industry. And don't get me wrong, it does come with its exposed risks. Unless you kind of understand social media platforms, I'd suggest doing a little bit more research first, because we are talking about OTC stocks. But considering there's no deficit they're operating on here, they have cash flows growing immensely here, guys, with the acquisitions they've taken on. Considering the stock prices ran up pretty substantially here already, it's getting some momentum behind it. And I think investors are going to start recognizing this as somewhat of an undervalued gaming stock that, again, has some pretty good potentials if they can keep up the growth rate they currently have. Now, I'm going to leave a full bull thesis in the description below if you guys want to read further into this. But if you are really into gaming and you want to basically own a network of global influencers in this space, which are likely only going to get bigger and bigger, that need ad agencies that are going to be playing at these major sports games like E3, which again, keep in mind, revenue is still growing in the midst of a pandemic. It's just a really interesting company here, guys. So again, let me know what you think in the comment section below, but stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you guys tomorrow.